Good morning, everyone. This is Jack Gershfeld from Altinex, and I'm going to be doing a seminar today on AVSnap library creation. As you notice, we have an AVSnap program open right now, and we've done a bunch of work last week explaining how AVSnap is working. So today we're going to spend most of the time on how to create libraries, because libraries are the key for the success of the AVSnap program. AVSnap is in general agnostic software. That means we don't care what manufacturer library you can do. It's a general purpose software, so any type of libraries can be created. Now you notice there's a little clock running here. This is actually AVSnap running on the background, just giving me a clock object. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit from it. There's another version of AVSnap with the little clock running on the inside. And that we will talk about when we go into control mode, how you can do this also. So I'm gonna close this one. And now we have a screen, AVSnap screen. The first thing to do is to remember that when you press F1, you get the shortcuts. And one of the shortcuts is letter E. Letter E is a library visible toggle. If you press letter E, you can see there is a pane on the right-hand side. We call it the library pane. And the library pane is used to manipulate the library, add components, remove components. If you press E again, it displays a local directory structure, so you can select the libraries if you need to open the libraries. So double-clicking on any of the libraries that you have available on your machine, let's say I double-click here, and it will automatically load this library into the unit. So give it a second for the access of the drive. There we go. Already opened, so there's a library and it's just opened. So I'm going to go ahead and close all the libraries because we're going to start from scratch. I'm going to press letter E one more time and then open the library pane. And right-clicking on the library pane, you will see there's an option called New Library. A new library allows you to create a library. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the new library and save changes to the project. No, we're not going to save changes to the project. We're just going to say no. And you'll notice that we're in the library mode. On the right-hand side, the pane turns different color. So it's a turquoise, and it's now your library mode. Whenever there's a pane in turquoise, you're in the library mode. You can also look on the very top, and here on the very top, you also see library mode. So the first symbol in the library mode is always your information symbol. It's always sits on the top, and that's where you put all the information about your library. So you can, this is just a text object. I'm going to double click on the text object, and I'm going to call this my library. So that's my first library, the library date, manufacturer, I'll call Altinex, and the revision. You can also add additional things like a designer and put Jack here, something like this. So whatever you want to add here, this is your information, and that will be always in the first symbol here, so you can always see what the library is. So the next thing we need to do is to add a new symbol. So right here, I'm going to right-click on the library pane, and I'm going to add a new symbol. Okay, and you can see the empty space appears. So there's a very top one, and then there's an empty space appears. And once you put an empty space, now you can create your symbol here. So I'm going to delete it for right now. Just want to show you how to create it, but we're going to set some things up before we go into creating the first symbol. So let's go ahead and delete the symbol. And we're back to here. And I want you to look at the properties right here. On the top left corner, there's a name, page 1, and there's a properties. When I go to properties, you can fill out many things before you create the first symbols, and all of these will be copied to the symbols. So let's say if I'm creating a library for Altinex, and I'd like to have manufacturer name always Altinex, I would put Altinex Inc., and this will be copied to every symbol I create in this library. I wouldn't put number, model number, or description at this point. But I'll put designator. Let's say if I'm creating a library for distribution amplifiers, I would put DA. If I'm creating a library for switchers, I would put switchers. So I can put SW if it's a switcher library. And what it will do, when you move the symbol to your page, it will add number behind it. It will add 1 or 2 or 3 numerical numbers, so you can easily see what the symbol number is. And when you look at the cable connections or cable list, it will tell you which component the cable goes from and to. So I'm just going to put switcher as a designator. Manufacturer phone number. And then website. Now the symbol website, you don't need to put here. You will probably put when you create a symbol itself. And then the retail price, you don't need to do it, so it doesn't do anything. Now here, you can create your custom fields. For example, I can make my custom field power. Okay, and I'll put it in watts. And then another custom field, maybe a weight. And I'll put in pounds. And maybe I'll create a custom field called lead time on the product, typical lead time. And we'll put here, let's say, 2 weeks. And whatever else. Now, the interesting thing here is that there's a little checksum right on the right-hand side. So if I put a power, and I click a check mark right here, that means when you put them on the design page, all the symbols that have this field, when you do list of materials, it will sum this together. So it will give, for example, total power required by the design. So if you have many components, it will sum all the power and give you total power, let's say 2,000 watts. If you put the weight in, it will tell you total weight, let's say, of the whole system is how many watts, how many pounds. So let's go ahead and put this weeks. All right. On the left-hand side, on the bottom, we need to decide whether it's going to be a diagram symbol, photo symbol, outline symbol, metric symbol, flow chart symbol, or control symbol. Now, in general, there's not too much difference. And you can go either way. It doesn't really matter which one you're going to be putting in. But in some cases, it makes it simple for you to group things together. So in this case, we're going to create a diagram symbol. If you would use a photo symbol, you would actually take a photograph of the product and use it as part of your symbol. If you have an outline symbol, a lot of times we look at the front and back panel and we outline the front and back panel. It gives you a good view of the connectors. And metric, if you want to stay with the metric system, although you can do it on either side. And the flowchart symbol is a special symbol, allows you to create flowcharts. And right here on the left-hand side, there's a flowchart mode. We're not going to go to this mode right now, but I'll show you later how to use this. And then control symbols. If you're designing symbols to control something, you can create a symbol, for example, to control VCR. And it would house all of the codes, every control for VCR, or you can control power amplifier or switcher. The next check boxes are whether we're going to be showing this symbol in a list of materials or not. So if you do not want to show it in a list of materials, you would click here. Then allow size adjustments. Most of the time, I don't allow size adjustment. Once I create a symbol, I keep it the same. But it's quite possible if you want to do size adjustment. This is a block from a list of materials, so it doesn't even show that it needs to be a list of materials. And this is convert to object when placed on page. That means you create a symbol, and when you move from the library to the page, it will convert it just to the original objects how you created it. So I'm going to leave everything unchecked except the diagram symbol right now. We have 3 custom fields. We have everything else filled in, and I'm going to say that this is good. That's my library. So now I'm going to go to the right and click Add a New Symbol. And to give you a difference, if I have a rectangle, that's object. So any tools here, that's object. Circle is an object. Arc is an object. But the symbol is combination of all of these. Once we put them all together then it becomes a symbol, and it's grouped all together to be used as one symbol. So let's go ahead and decide which symbol we're going to create. In this case, I'm going to go on the website, and I'm going to pick up, let me just see. one product. So I'll go to Altinex website and I'm going to pick up UT260. It's a 5 by 2 matrix switcher, and I want to design a symbol for this matrix switcher. So usually what I do, I jump into the diagram, something like this, or you can download the user guide from the manufacturer. But this one's good enough. So I have all my inputs here. I have my outputs. I have connections here. I have Ethernet. So I got all the things I need to do the symbol. So the next thing is decide what is the size of your symbol, because obviously you want to put it on the page, and if you don't want to use too big of a symbol, because then you would need to have a large page, or too small. So what I'm going to do is to turn the grid on first, and turning the grid on is by just pressing letter G. So that's from your shortcuts, grid on and grid off. Once it's on, my setting for the grid is on the bottom left side. You can see there's a setting on the bottom left side, 0.1 inch and 0.05 inches, okay? So there it is. So I can double click on the page, and I can see the grid size is 0.05 inches, and the line size, that's little squares right here, is 0.1 inches. That's typically how I start creating something. So in this case, this is going to be the matrix switcher. So the first thing I'm going to do is to draw a body. Okay, I'm going to fill it with empty, and I'm going to make a line weight of 1. So it's not too thick. Now, sometimes I go as thin as 0.1 if you don't want it to be too thick of a line, so it's a little bit thinner. But 1 is sufficient. Let's go ahead and stick with 1, the thickness line. All right, so that's my body, and we're going to adjust it as we go. You also have this origin. The origin is where the symbol is going to be snapped to. So when you move it to the page, it will always snap to using this origin. So if you're moving to the page and the page has grid, it will snap to this point. I'm going to move it to the side for right now until I finish design. On the left-hand side, I always have my inputs. On the right-hand side, I always have my outputs. Now, if you have a power or you have Ethernet, you may decide to put on the left or right side. So let's go ahead and create an input. In this case, I'm going to create a little symbol like this. Let me adjust the weight and make it empty, like this. And I'm going to put a text here. And I'm going to put HDMI in 1. Okay. So I can go many different ways. My font size is 10 right now, so I can make it a little bit smaller. I can also stretch this and make it a little bit bigger if I want to. Now notice that my text is on the top left corner. Right here on the left-hand side, you have a text align. And you can go to the text, and as you click it, it will move to different place. So let's go ahead and see. See, I can move it from left to right, and I'm using H key right now to move it horizontally. So I'll put it in the middle. And then I use V key to move it vertically. You see, I can move it on the top, on the line, on the bottom line, on the under the line, and then on the middle. So I'll just do this. And that's my input. So here's my input. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the automatic increment function. And as you remember from last session, we have auto increment text numbers. And I'm going to add 5 inputs. You can use a clone object and just drag it out and put input 2. Select 2 of them and drag it out. And there's your input 3 and 4 and final input 5. And input 5. So there's my inputs. Let me see what else do we need to do. We have 5 inputs, we have 2 outputs. So I'm going to take this and copy it to the output. Double click, and I'm going to put HDMI out 1. The same format, copy paste, and we now have 2 outputs. Now, we also have Ethernet port, and we have a power port. So I'm going to move Ethernet port down here someplace. And I'm going to put net. And I'm also going to add the power. And I'm going to put power. And let's do 2.5 millimeters, so I know what type of power connector it is. And I may decrease the size of the font just a little bit so it fits in. All right. Finally, we have a couple of more things here. So we have all of the inputs here. We have Ethernet. We have the power. We have 2 outputs. We also have 2 audio outputs right here on the right-hand side, and we also have control here. So let's go ahead and put a couple of audio outputs. So audio 1, audio out 1, and then copy paste, and it automatically goes audio 2. So there's your 2 audio outputs. I'll move a little bit apart as we're going to be routing them once we put on the board. And finally, we have a control. In the control, we have, looks like, let me just see if I zoom in on this. Okay, I have input, I/O, I/O, and ground. All right, so we can do a couple of things here. We're going to have a total of 5 connectors. So this, I'm going to say I/O 1, and then we can duplicate this. And the final one. All right. For me, this is pretty much a complete symbol. I may want to make it a little bit smaller so I don't have that much space. So we'll see what we're going to do in a second. Let me go ahead and put a text here. And in the text, I'm going to put UT260-052. So that gives me model number. And we'll set it right here for right now. And whatever else you want to put. If you want to put description, you can put description here. I'll make this the box a little bit smaller. And then I'll move this to here. Now notice as I create the symbol, the same symbol appears on the right-hand side in the library pane. Whenever you click in the library pane, the symbol will be fit to page. So you can see if I zoom out, if I click here, it will fit right back into the full page view. You can use letter F also. Now, also notice that the size, page size doesn't matter. You can have small page size or large page size. It's always referenced to the symbol origin, which I put right here. End of the symbol on the left, and the top, I put the origin right here. You also can move it anywhere you want. It doesn't matter from the symbol point of view, because eventually when you bring it to the page, it's just going to reference everything to the origin. So now it's complete drawing, and I can use it. But what we also need to do is to add some snap-in points. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add a snap-in point right into here. Okay. And right on the left-hand side, there's a tool called snap-in point. So let's go ahead and take this tool, and we're going to put the snap point right here in the middle. All right. And I accidentally inserted the second one. Double-clicking on snap points will give you some options. So you can put a description. So you can put HDMI input. You also can select the connector. Now, we don't have HDMI in here yet, but we will add those. So right now, you just have to type connector, type HDMI. We have other option, and that HDMI. Number of connectors, you have 1. Category. I'm going to put video for right now, although the HDMI is both video and audio, but we also have a separate audio output. So I'll just put video for right now. It's an input, and it's a female connector. The last thing we want to do is to add the image for this connector. So let's go ahead and jump onto the web. And I showed it a little bit last time, but I'll show it one more time here. So we'll go to the internet. And let's see if we can find HDMI connector. So here's HDMI connector. There's a little symbol right here that I like, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this. Press F6. Remember, we're using the Screen Hunter. You can use any other software that captures the screen. And there is my symbol right here. I'm done with this. And finally, I'm going to go to to find my symbol. Okay, so let's go to the desktop. And I have a folder that I create called Wiki Images, where everything that I scan goes to that folder. And I'm going to say, okay, so now you have this connector. You have the connector, you have the type of signal, and you can apply, and you're done. So what you can do now is to copy paste this symbol to the next one, and it will retain all of the functions here. So you don't have to create it over and over again. So I'll take two of them, copy paste, and one more copy paste. Now notice when you double click on the snap points, there's a snap point number, and this is 1. That's pretty much irrelevant. This is just a reference number that we use to number the snap points, but there's no order or anything else. So you can have 10 or 20 first one, or 1 as the last one, so it doesn't matter. All right, so we got that done. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the network. So I'm going to go ahead and put the snap points here, and I'll put one on the power. Now on the HDMI output, I'm just going to copy it and then just change a couple of things. So let's go ahead, double click on this. This is my output. It's still female, everything else fits good. I'm going to apply it, and I'm going to copy and paste it. Okay. So there's a couple of questions that I'm reading right now, so we'll take a look at it, and I'll answer those questions a little bit later. Let's go ahead and do the network. On the network, we're going to have RJ45 Cat5 connector. Number of connectors, category, I would call it a control right now, and it's bidirectional, and it's a female socket. And let's do the RJ45 on Google and see if we can get that one. There is my RJ45 connector, female. All right, and the key here is to find a good picture of the front view. So I'll just grab this one on the left-hand side. Press F6 to capture it. I'll grab this image right now, but you can find exactly what you're looking for. So there we go. And go search for it. It will remember where we were before. And there's a connector, open, and now I have the connector here. Finally, the power connector. We're going to put other, and I will call it 2.5 millimeter connector, category power. And that's our input, and that's a female connector. And let's see if we can find something interesting here. 2.5 millimeter power jack. Again, the goal is to find the front view. If you don't find the front view, it's okay. You can always put just a connector type. So I'm going to select this one for right now, just right here. That will give me enough understanding what type of connector I'm going to have there. And let's come back here. Last one, apply, and we're done. So we can repeat the same thing for all of the other connectors. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the snap points here. They're empty, there's nothing there, and I'm going to show you how to adjust them once we get into design. So here's all of our snap points. Our symbol is ready. So the only thing we need to go is to go to properties now. So we defined the symbol graphically. Now let's define some functions about the symbol. So designator SW, remember it copied it from the first symbol. We can put a model number. ET260-05152. Description, 5x2 on the table switcher. We already have manufacturer name. We have the phone number, symbol, website, and that can be easily found. So let's go ahead and go to the switcher, copy that website, and drop it right into here. Okay. For the retail price, power, we have 8 watts. Okay. Pound, 1 pound, and the lead time is 1 week, for example. 1 week. Okay. Everything else looks good, and then my symbol is ready. The next thing is to save the library. I press Control-S. That gives me a library place to go to, so I'm going to go to Desktop, and I'm going to save it on the desktop. So my library, and now I saved it. And I can go back to the project. And as I go back to the project, as you can see, I have the library symbol on the right-hand side. And it's ready to be used. The only thing I need to do is to double-click on it, and it will appear on the page. Okay, so in this case, I have a very small page, 8.5 by 11. I'll go to the 22 by 17, a little bit bigger page, and here's my symbol. And you can move it around. Double-clicking on a symbol will show you all of the properties there. So in this case, everything I entered is here, and you can modify those properties as you are on the page. So you don't have to go back to the library to modify something. If you have some changes or modification that's specific to the project, you would modify it directly from the project. So there's a couple of things you can modify. If you're here, and you can see I have the grid right now, and you can see that the symbol is connect right to the grid. So wherever I have my origin, it goes right into this place. Now, if I want to move the origin, I can do that. I can move the origin to any place I want. For example, I can move origin by right-clicking here and say Move Origin. And now, as I move around, it will lock right into this place. So you can do different ways, the way you want to configure what you want to lock the symbol to. Let's go ahead and see what else we can modify. I'm going to go ahead and turn the grid off, double-click on the symbol, and you can see already it's added 1 to it. So it's SW1. Now, if you would have a dash number here in the symbol library, then it would add SW-1-2-3. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, put the dash, apply it, and I'm going to copy the symbol 2 times because I have 2 switchers in my system. So you can see it's added second switcher in the system. Everything else remains the same. If you want to go to symbol library, you can just click it here, and you can open the library right in the web browser. Okay, so I'm going to move it to the side while it's looking for it. But that's a kind of quick way for you to go to the library. All right, let's come back into here. Everything is done here. I'm going to close this. Let's do some connections, some wiring connections, so we can see how it's going to look from the wire diagram. So I'm going to take a cable and just going to run it from here. As you can see, I'm going to turn my Draw Assist on. And you can see there's a line that goes between, and it automatically tries to snap to the point. So I'm going to move it to the output here. I'm going to drag it to the HDMI input here, and I'm going to let it go. I don't have to go directly to the point. Just let it go. It will automatically connect it. So I'm going to take HD output 1 and go to here, and just going to let it go. Now, this is just showing how the system works. So it's not a real system, but double-clicking here, it will automatically align it. Move it to the side, double-click, and now you have a perfect alignment. If you need to move this, you can move this to the right or to the left and align it together. So now we have 2 symbols on the page. We have 2 lines. Let's see what we can get when we do materials list. When I press material list, that's a shortcut M. I end up to the manufacturer name, and if you have multiple manufacturer names, it will automatically segregate them from the by manufacturer. So you have manufacturer name, you have 2 pieces, UT260-052. You have 5x2 under table switcher, and it has 8 watts and 1 pound and 1 week lead time. Notice that the power total, because we marked it as a sum, it's added all together, so it's a total of 16 watts. If you would have multiple other units, it would continue adding them, so you have total power available. Now, if I copy this I can go directly to Excel sheet. And you can see when I'm going to copy it here, it automatically puts it in the right cells, okay? So you don't have to segregate it. Everything is moved right into the right cells. You have the quantity and the model number and the description and the rest of the item in the separate cells. So it's easy to manage it if you have a large number of products on the page. In addition, some people wanted to put this directly on the page. So you can just say, move it to text box. So I'm going to say, okay, text box. And here's a text box. And if I zoom in, the text box contains the library, the manufacturer name, the unit, the total power. So if you're finishing with the page and you want to quickly see something what's on the page, you just move it to the box and it adds right to the page. You can double click and modify this as needed. So if you want to remove the total cost, you can remove this. You can remove everything here, and you can still have your material list listed here. All right. So that's one way of creating library. You can see we started from the library pane. We created the library. But what if I have a symbol that needs to be modified slightly and then move to the library right from the design page? Let me see if we can do this. So I'm going to take this symbol, and I'm going to right-click on the symbol, and I'm going to convert it to objects. You can see here, when I convert it to objects, I'm going to delete the original symbol. There's nothing left. As you can see, the symbol is now just a combination of objects. And I can move it around, but there's no snap points. There's nothing here. So from this point, I can just start designing it on that page. I can start designing the symbol right on the design page. And when I'm done, I can convert it back to the symbol. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and remove one input. I'm going to remove network. I'm going to remove output here. And I'm going to, so there's my small switchers that I'm going to put here, just like this. All right. And I'm going to call it UT260-241. That's 4 inputs, 1 output. And there's my new design. I'm going to select all of it. And as you remember, if you select from right to left, just by touching it, you will select everything. If you select from left to right, you have to enclose everything inside the square. So now that I selected it, I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm going to convert to symbols. And like we did before, I'm going to do diagram symbol. All right. Notice you have those handlebars right here on the corner. That means adjustable size. We do not want it to be adjustable, so right-click and say Allow Size Adjustment Turn Off. And now we have a brand new symbol. Now, what you can also do is to copy symbol to library. So the way that you do this, you select the symbol by clicking on it, then go to the library pane, right-click on the library pane, and say Copy Symbol to Library. Okay. The first thing it will ask you is to give you model number for the symbol. So I'm going to put UT260-041. And as I move it, do you want to add this to the library? Yes. And as you can see, we just added this symbol to the library. Now, let's say we're in this project. I'm going to right-click on this, and I'm going to say Edit Library. Because I'm on this symbol, it will edit that specific symbol. So Edit Library. Save changes to the project. Yes. We're going to save the project, and I'm going to put it on the desktop as my project. And you can see that we're right into this symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom this out a little bit. Let's put this fit. Turn the grid on. And that's my other symbol, and this is my current symbol, okay? And you can see that it's kind of moved it to the side. So no problems. We'll just move it into the page, put the grid on, align it to the edge, and there we go. And we add some snap points. We already know how to adjust the snap points and add different functionality. I'm just going to add the snap points here. And I'm going to save this by pressing Control-S. Okay? Now, right here, there's a function, return to a project. And when you return to project, that means that you saved your project, you were in the project, you went to the library. When you return, you're going to be right in the same place where you were before, except now the symbol is automatically adjusted. So you can see I went to the symbol, I modified the symbol. When I returned back to project, it updated the symbol with a new functionality. So anytime you're in the project, you can just jump right into the modify project or modify symbol, and then when you return it, the symbol will be modified in your project. Okay. From here, just apply it to here and connect it. And now you're fully connected to the system. Double click here to align it. Double click and it's aligned, and now you have fully aligned system. So now what we're going to do, we're going to press material list button, which is M, and you can see here that you have one UT260-041 and you have one piece 260-052. But notice, because we didn't modify any options for this symbol, it doesn't have manufacturer name, it doesn't have total power, so it doesn't combine it together. So what we need to do is to go ahead and right click and say edit library. Okay. Go back into here and update everything we need to update. So if this is a 4 watts here, symbol, and I'm going to put here manufacturer name and designator SW. All right. I'll keep it simple right now so we can just demonstrate what we're doing here. So if I go to the other symbol, you see there's Altinex Inc. here, and I'm going to do the same thing. So right click right now, return back to project, double click, and you can see that we already added Altinex Inc. in here. The SW was not adjusted because it doesn't know if you want to keep that particular designator or not. So I'm going to put SW2, press materials list, and now you can see that they're added together. Okay. UT260-041 and 052. Now let's take a look at the list of cables. So we have two cables right now just to withdraw between the symbols. So I'm going to press letter K for cables, and I'm going to put HDMI. And I'll call it cable 1. And I'm going to show the net names on both sides. And as you can see, the HDMI now is shown right here on both sides. I'm going to do the same thing with the cable 2 by pressing letter K, HDMI 2. All right. And then I'm going to also add that this is going to be my 3-foot cable and show the net on both sides. And finally, this cable K, I'm going to put 6-foot cable on both sides. All right. So now we have two symbols. We have the cable connected between the symbols, and we also have the names on the cable. By pressing letter Y, we now have the information about the cables. So in this case, we have a category video. If you would have audio, there would be listed as separate cables. Control, power, and other would be separate cables. We have also error checking, and we'll talk about it in a second. Right here, we can do the error checking. And it says, okay, HDMI 1, switch 1, from pin number 8, which is designation for that particular snap point. It's a socket, plug, cable, and then it goes to SW2, pin 1, and it's a 6 feet. So you can see it makes it very easy for you to build a list of cables. And you can also copy this and go directly to the Excel sheet and just import right into Excel sheet, and it will separate everything together. Now, there was a question, if we have headers here, you can see if there's a headers originally, then you will have headers assigned right into here. Okay. And the material list. Now, if you have some functions that you're looking for or you need to add, just give us a call or put it in the forum, and we'll add those functions. We designed the software ourselves, so it's not a difficult thing for us to adjust the software as needed. So now you have a full cable list. Let's take a look quickly at the errors here. And this would be in audio category. We're in the video category. So one of the errors connected to a wrong category. So for example, if you connect a video category to control category, that would give you an error. Connected to a different type of connector. So if you connected HDMI to 3 RCA connectors, that would be type of error. And input connected to input. So if you connected input to input or output to output. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and you can see we're still okay. What would happen if I take this connector, this cable, let's close this, and you move it to here. Okay, let's look at the power and see if I'm showing any connect to the wrong category, and let's see what's category here. Oh, because there's no category. Let's see if we can connect it to the output. Notice, let's see if it will give us to us. Category and Y cable. Oh, we didn't define it either, so the category is the same. So I'm not sure why it's not doing, but right now what we should be able to say, if we connect to the output, it should give you an error. I don't see it right now, but I'll check why it's not showing. So that's us doing the library symbols. Let's go, and I'm going to answer some questions right now, and we'll go and I'll open the webinar for additional questions, and we'll go through additional details. So let me stop screen sharing for a second. I'll turn everybody's microphones on, and you still need to enable it, turn off the mute for you to talk. So give me 1 second.
All attendees are muted and may unmute themselves by pressing *6.
Okay, share monitor number 1. So all the users that we have online are now unmuted. So if you turn your microphone on, you can talk now. If you have any questions, feel free to talk while I'm showing there. So let me look at the other questions that we may have here. So if I want to have the same designator SW2 to appear on multiple pages, video and control, can you just copy paste the same symbol, maintain the designator? By default, when you copy the symbol, the designator will automatically increase. If you need to maintain it, the only way to do it at this point is to actually go in and physically modify it to be the same. It's okay for us to have multiple symbols of the same designator, but once you move it to a second page, you might have to manually do this. Yeah, there's another question here. Can you copy the symbol into the library to retain all the output descriptions and inputs? Yes, absolutely, it is. So if you, for example, want to add this symbol, you can just select the symbol, right-click here, and add copy symbol to library with all the parameters and everything else that will go right into here. Now, the library doesn't care. You can have multiple symbols of the same model number. You just have to go back here and modify it later. Okay, but it is possible to do this. The other thing is you don't have to go to the library at all to create a symbol. You can just start from scratch on the design page and create a symbol with input and outputs. And then just select it, right-click, and say symbol. And you can go ahead and add the snap points here also. You can just right-click and say insert snap points. Insert snap point. You can also say move origin to this location. So now you're completely outside the library and you already created a symbol. Double-click here. You can put a designator, model number. Once you finish with this, just keep it selected, right-click on the library, and copy symbol to library. And there you go. Please enter model number ABC1. And it will copy this right into the library. Now you can do even further than that. If you create a project with all your symbols that you create inside your project pages, you can right-click here and say create library from project. And that will create a brand new library regardless of what other libraries you have. So if you want to create libraries from projects, then you just select this option. It will move it right to the right, okay? So
hey,
right
Jack,
now it's just, yes.
I'm sorry, this is James. I have a question. I mean, I don't have a question. I have a follow-up from last week. We were talking about that pound, J pound. And I actually was playing with it earlier, and I think I figured it out. If you put a text box in the library on the symbol itself above it, and put that £J, when you drag it in there, it actually shows that designator. I tried adding it on the page and didn't get any luck, but if I added it in the symbol and drag it in, then it would show.
So we're going to put right here on the top.
Right.
Right there. Let's increase the size.
And you can already see it on your symbol if you look up to the right.
Right here. Right here. Right here. So you won't see it. You won't see it here because it's a special character. That's awesome. And then return to project. Okay, so update symbols, yes, and there it is, right here on the top. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for updating that.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes we add things and I forget why we add them. You know, don't use it that often. But I remember there was a function where you just press, you select the symbol and press letter J, and you see it also puts SW.
Okay.
So for every symbol, if you press it, if you press letter J, it gives you the symbol. It gives you designator right away. But in this case, it's permanent. So whenever you move in, you just see that designator as part of the symbol. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, Frankie actually was the one that told me that's what it was for.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if we're going to go any further than that on the libraries. There's lots of things you can do. So I'm going to show you a couple of other things. Let's go ahead and create a new page. Add a new page. And I'm going to just duplicate the format. And we're going to quickly go over the symbol library just so that you understand what the symbol library is. So if I'm going to go ahead and select a rectangle, and I'm going to make round corners like this, and I'm going to make, this is my start in the flow chart. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to say create, convert to symbol, and make it a flow chart symbol. So there's one piece. Then I'm going to go ahead and create another flow chart symbol. And let's say I'm going to make it square. I'm going to turn it 45 degrees. So that's your decision block, remember? Right click on it, convert it to symbol, and flowchart symbol. So there we go. So now I can copy paste this as my blocks. I can move them around. But what's nice about the symbol, when I double click, I can add the text. Move item left, something like this. So there's my symbol. And let's see if I can get the text a little bit bigger. There it is. Move item left. And if right, then something like this. There's the if statement. And that needs to be a little bit bigger also. And then we'll come back here and say start. Start. So you created basic blocks for the flowchart. And then you can add snap-in points here, okay? Snap-in points. I'm just going to add a bunch of snap-in points. And right here you have a feature in the flowchart mode. Once you switch it to flowchart mode, it automatically tries to connect things together for you. Can you see that? And if I create another block here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to put a snap point here, and I'm going to put snap point here, it will also try to connect it. Now, once you put the flowchart together, you can right-click and say auto route flowchart, and it will automatically route the flowchart for you. Okay, and you can right-click and clear flowchart, and then it will clear it, and you can move it around. Now, as you can see, as you move things around, you can also, it's automatically trying to find the place where you think you may want to connect it. Okay, so if you move this around, and then you can right-click on it and auto-route the flowchart, and now you're back to auto-routing. So that's another type of symbol that you have available for you. Okay, now if you would go to the photo symbol, I would probably start with a photograph. So if I go to the website, and there's my photo, so let me just go ahead and grab this photo. I'll snap it right here. Paste it in. Okay, let's do it again. Paste. Oh, maybe I didn't snap it, so let's try it again. F6. Capture the picture. And then paste. So there's my picture. I put 100% on the zoom so I can see exactly what it looks like. Okay. And now what I can do, there's a couple of things you can work. There's a white area around it, and you may want to get rid of this white area. So when you put it on the page as a symbol, you don't see the white. So I'm going to right-click, and you can see if I'm going to put a rectangle behind it, you can see there's a white area right here. So I'm going to go to properties of this object by pressing letter B, and on the bottom left color side, you see there's a transparent color. So I'm going to select transparent color, and then I'm going to click here, and this is my transparent color, white. And I'm going to say OK. All right. But you can see it's not gone yet because we need to give a tolerance. It's not exactly white. It could be a little bit off. So we're going to go ahead and select the tolerance. And as I adjust the tolerance, you can see, OK, and a little tolerance here. And now it disappears. Now the tolerance of 7, and you can see all of this is gone. So now you have a really nice and clean symbol with a transparent background. So now you can go ahead and put some symbols. If you want, you can put some snap points in it. And so convert to symbol first. And we'll do a photo symbol. And then once you convert it, you can go ahead and add snap points here. Or if you wanted more details, you can add snap points right at the connectors. A lot of times it's used if you have a front panel diagram or a back panel diagram. And then right-click and copy symbol to library. This is UT260-052 photo, just for now. And then move it to the library. Yes. And there it is. So if you need to start design, just press it, move it in here, and your symbols are here. Now make sure to turn off the flowchart mode so it doesn't try to connect it, but otherwise you're ready to go. Okay, any other questions? Everybody has access to the microphones. If you guys have any questions, we can answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to continue talking about the libraries and what other functions we have. One of the nice features about the library functions is that you can print the library. And a lot of times when the library gets big, I print it and I just have it as a reference next to me so it's easier to work. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open the library. So add the library. And let's say I'm going to put 2016 sectional plates for our tabletop units. Okay. Now it's open. You have all these different components inside. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to print the library. Here's my margins on each side, and I'm going to go ahead and print it to the PDF creator. Remember, that's a PDF printer. Apply and print, so we can see how it comes out. Okay, it's take us 2 seconds. Sectional plate outline, save. I have a folder called PDF, so I'm going to save it to that folder. And you can see here's what it looks like. So when you print the library, you have a name of the library, and you also have each component on each page of the library. So it becomes very nice and clean way to reference the library, or if you want to give it to your designers, they can easily use this. Okay. The other thing is, of course, you can close the library. You can close all the libraries. Now, the refresh libraries is a very good function. A lot of times what we do, we have the library located on a network drive. On a network drive, it allows one person to be a librarian and the rest of the people to actually use the library. So let's say if you're in designing and you have libraries open and the librarian adjusted the library, let's say a person in your organization that just updated the latest libraries. So if you want to refresh your libraries in your machine, you would refresh it and it will go back to the server and pull the newest copy of the library into your system. Now, if you close AVSnap and you open it up, it will do it anyway. But while you're working, you can do it also. Like in our case, I may call Vika and I may say, hey, Vika, can you please adjust this symbol? Once she finishes adjusting it, I just refresh the libraries. You can also see that we have additional functions that we can convert symbols from different types. So if you have a diagram symbols, you can convert to outline. diagram to photo, outline to diagram, photo to outline, outline to photo, and outline to metric. This is just a shortcut if you need to convert lots of symbols from one type to the other. So if you have a library and you accidentally create a library as a diagram library, but it's all photo libraries, so that you can just change all of them instead of going through each individual unit. And there are many more functions that we're going to discover and work with when we go into the advanced library creation. But for the beginning, I think this is a very good introduction. And I'm going to go back to the library pane for a second and see if there's any other features that I can talk about.
What about the search feature, Jack? Down at the bottom, what are those designators on the bottom right corner do for you?
So right here on the bottom, you have a couple of things. You can show the graphic library, you can show current library list, or you can show the libraries list. So if you click on the library list, it shows you all of the libraries. So everything that you have, everything is going to be listed here. So if I'm looking for a specific model number across multiple libraries, I can just click it here, the very right corner icon, and I can type in, let's say, CNK-IP216, CNK-IP216. Let's see, where's the CNK-IP? Okay, 216. So you see, it found it when I hit enter, it automatically puts it on the middle of the page. So that's across the libraries. If you want to look at a specific library, you can go and search right directly from here. So let's say if I want to look for, let's do SP1004. So SP1004. If you're going through a specific library, it filters it out. It only displays what's available. So if I remove 1004, it shows that everything that starts with SP100 shows up here, and you can just double click on it. Or if you put 1004 and then hit enter. Oh, I didn't hit enter. SP1004. SP1004. Sorry, and just double click on it, it will put it in the middle of the page right here. If you're in the list mode, then you can just kind of search through the list on the specific library. If you want all of them, you go to the last one. Does that answer? All right, we're coming to the end of the webinar. It was a pleasure to spend another 1 hour with you during the morning on Tuesday. We'll do the same thing next Tuesday and for the next 10 weeks, and we're going to discover all the different features that we have in the library. And especially, I've had a bunch of emails that people were asking me to talk about layers and how layers are used in design, and we'll go over that also. And meanwhile, I'll stay online for another few minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to just type them or ask them, and otherwise, we're all done. Thank you, everyone, and have a great, great rest of the day.